Samantha Belford, and today I have the honor to speak with David Nadelberg and Merk Nguyen about their podcast, Ooh, You're in Trouble, from TRAX, which just premiered its second season. David Nadelberg is the co-creator and writer of the podcast, best known for being the creator of Mortified, a grassroots storytelling project where adults share their embarrassing childhood diaries, letters, and art. Merk Nguyen narrates the series The Little Voice in Your Head, or LV. She is also the co-host of the podcast Adult-ish. Okay, so, David, how do you work with the subjects of each episode to help tell their stories in a way that's compelling?
Well, we spend a lot of time talking to the kids on the show, and we wind up doing a pre-interview with them. They go to listentotrouble.com and they say, "Ooh, I want to be on the show. Here's my story." And then we contact many of those people. We have a phone call with them, and then from there we have a third interaction with them when we actually interview them. And the interviews are actually like 2 hours. So we talk to them forever about everything, and then we shorten it to like 22 minutes and write copy for Merk to say.
Wow, it's really cool that your stories are user submitted. Merk, what do you like most about doing Ooh, You're in Trouble?
I love how I get to just play up the awesome and really sitting on the edge of your seat stories that the people on the show are telling, the stories. It's really awesome to be able to just kind of walk the listeners as to what this person done and what it is they learned from it, because this whole show is really just a big guide on how to teach kids what to do when, your grown-ups aren't around.
It's so cool that you try to educate kids on making the right decisions from learning from people not making the right decisions.
Totally.
David, what were some differences on creating Get Mortified or Ooh, You're in Trouble?
Well, so Mortified is a show about childhood experiences, but for adults. So it's about looking back. And with this show, we wanted to do something similar where it was like taking the idea of telling true life stories, but where we would getting mostly kids to talk about it, and definitely the audience for the show is kids. And that has been really exciting, because in this show, it's a very high energy show. It's mostly funny, but it's a lot of high energy and a lot of suspense. But we get to add in sort of life lessons into it. And that to me is really fun, because I think I watched and listened to a lot of garbage when I was growing up. And I like to give people it's like in the casing of a Snickers bar, but really secretly there's broccoli inside. That's my goal. I don't know if you like broccoli.
That's cool how you try to, kind of get in a hidden message that will really help kids take away from your show.
Yeah.
Merk, how did you create LV's voice and characteristics for the podcast?
I kind of model her off of my own voice, because I'm 24, so I'm not too far off from teenage, but I kind of like to think of myself as like a big sibling kind of character of, are you sure you want to do that? Are you sure you're not going to get in trouble for that? But also because I'm not too far from being a kid myself, I'm like, yeah, I think I kind of would have done that. So the approach is that LB is your friend. She knows what you're thinking. She's not going to judge you, though, at all whatsoever. But she's kind of there to be like, yes, no, should you eat the broccoli? Maybe you should, but it's ultimately your choice.
That's cool. I always thought her voice was just so cool.
You want to make her say something?
Yeah.
You can write your own lines and she could say it. She's here.
Okay. Can you say, ooh, you're in trouble?
Ooh, you're in trouble.
Okay, I always wanted to do that. Okay, David, do you have a personal story you would like to put on Ooh, You're in Trouble?
I do, but my favorite one is actually my brother's story growing up, because when my brother, my dad had a dream that he had just bought a brand new, very expensive, I don't know why, but very expensive toilet seat. And he was like worried about it getting, he had a dream that somebody cemented peanuts all over the toilet seat. And so my brother, being like 12 or 11, thought it would be hilarious to make the dream come true, not realizing that that's insanely expensive, and it basically destroyed the seat. So like, I think that's a great story, and I should bring my brother onto the show.
That's really funny.
I'd love to voice that. Oh yeah.
Okay, Merk. How does your team choose the sound effects? They really bring the story to life.
Yeah, well, I mean, the whole idea of the show is that, you know, we really want to make sure the listeners are there in that moment. So in things like hearing somebody opening a door and stuff like that, we really want to make sure that because it's audio and people aren't seeing anything, that you can see it with your ears, if that makes sense. In terms of the music, and in terms of like, sometimes you'll hear weird voices on the show, they will bring on other actors to highlight that. And when it comes to music, it's kind of inspired by moments that Dave or even Neil, the other co-creator of the show, will have to infuse it. I think Dave could probably say a little bit more on that.
There's a woman named Hadley Dion who puts in all the sound effects and all the music. And everything else is Merk making weird noises with her mouth. Make a door opening noise. Perfect.
Yeah, those noises just really bring the story together. I feel like I'm there. Okay,
yep,
David, what's your all-time favorite Ooh, You're in Trouble episode?
I've been really enjoying the episodes we've been making for season 2. I had a lot of fun making an episode with a little girl named Yui, who grew up in Tokyo. I just found her personality to be so infectiously fun. And she's so sweet, but her story is about stealing money from herself, which is so bizarre. She took money that was supposed to be for her college fund, essentially, and used it to buy a sparkly keychain, which is a very important purchase, but goes to great lengths to do it. And so that was very fun. And we also got to do a historical episode last year, which was one of our only episodes with somebody well into their years, a woman named Carlotta Walls, who was a member of the Little Rock Nine, which was a group that made a huge difference in the civil rights era in the 1950s. And we got to hear her incredible story of fighting racial segregation in the 1950s.
That's so cool how your episodes are so different, from like stealing money from your college fund, which is hard, to writing, to competing against racial segregation and fighting it.
Yeah, like we just did an episode that's coming up is about a kid who does a protest about like wearing masks. That was literally from, the year 2020. And so like the idea of fighting your school system in the name of justice is still happening.
Merk, what's your favorite episode of the new season?
Ooh, of the new season? Oh man, can I give any spoilers?
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it would probably be the mask episode, because it highlights a really important point in our current history and current conversations that people are having. And it really highlights these tense situations that you might not want to get into, but to know that the characters in the story and the storytellers were able to really stand up for themselves. It made me pretty emotional when I was voicing the lines, because, sometimes I have to remember I am LB, but behind LB is Merk, the actual person. And I just love how I can be inspired by the people who tell their stories.
Yeah, the stories are really inspiring. David, what kind of response have you gotten from kid listeners?
We get responses mostly from parents who are telling us that their kids want them to stay in the car Can we not get out and go to the store? We want to stay in the car and keep listening to this show. And what's really fun is we're hearing that from people in countries all over the world.
That's cool. I mean, like, I would want to stay in the car and listen to it. It's a really good show. Okay, and finally, Merk, what are you hoping listeners will take away from the show, from hearing all people talk about their lives, and consequences and mistakes they made and consequences that resulted in those?
I think the biggest takeaway is for them to not feel ashamed or to not feel shame for any of their actions. I think that taking accountability of your actions is an important thing to do, and to know what it is you did, why it is you did it, but to not beat yourself up over it, you know, because every single day we're growing and we're learning, and this show is a safe space for people to do that.
Thank you so much, Dave Nadelberg and Merk Nguyen, for talking with me today. The second season of Ooh You're in Trouble is now available on TRAX.fm. I'm Samantha Belford, reporting for Kids First. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss another interview or review from us. Thank you. Bye.